Today, I'm going to teach you how to play TFT, how to get good at TFT, and tell you everything that you need to know about the new set. This video will be for completely new players and players returning to Set 8, and I've been Challenger before, which is the highest rank, and I've also coached many people who are brand new to the game all the way to Masters in less than 1 month, and even some pro players used to watch my guides as well, so hopefully I can help you out. TFT is an auto battler. That means your goal is to build a team that fights for you, automatically. In order to do this, you'll need champions on your team, and in order to get champions, you'll need to buy them in the shop with gold. In order to power up your champions, you'll need items. The easiest way to learn about all these different things that I've just mentioned is to break down TFT into its rounds and stages. Let's start off first with a carousel. When the game begins, we are presented with a carousel where we see a rotating circle of champions, all of which are holding an item. In this first carousel, it's a free-for-all and everyone goes for whichever item or champion that they want. Typically, we would prioritize getting an item that we want here, but more on that later. Carousels happen once per stage. Each stage has 7 rounds, but in the carousels that happen after the first one, players take turns in pairs picking champions, starting with the lowest health players. Typically, you would go for items that either fit your playstyle or work well with your current team. If you have played other combat games before, there are different damage types in TFT: physical, magic, and true damage. We'll focus on the first two because that's what's more relevant right now. Essentially, if you like dealing physical damage, you would go for the swords and bows. If you like magic, you would go for rods and tears. And if you like tanking, you could go for the belt, armor, or cloak. The next round is going to be a minion or creep round. You will face off against AI'd control units that give you items, gold, champions, and other types of loot. These loot orbs will give you different combinations each game, so sometimes you'll get more or less gold and items than the game before. After a few of these rounds, we are presented with an augment. So the augment selection screen looks like this. You typically have 3 choices, and they are essentially just a way to enhance your team for the rest of the game. This is usually in the form of economy augments, which gives you more gold or champions, item augments, which give you more items, combat augments, which make your team fight better, and trait augments, which gives a specific trait more bonuses, and lastly, Set 8 introduced hero augments, which either turns a specific champion into a support or carry unit. That's going to be it for all the rounds we have in TFT. So we have the carousel, the neutral rounds, the PvP rounds, and the augment rounds. We've mentioned traits in the augment section, so let's talk about those right now. Each champion you buy has their own set of traits, which are their origins and class. Typically, they have around 2 or 3 of them, but for all the people who are returning to Set 8, there are some units that only have 1 now. Long story short, traits are a synergy that a unit can have. The more you field of that certain trait, the bigger bonus you can get. For example, we have the Sure Shot trait. On combat start, your Sure Shots gain bonus attack damage now and every 4 seconds. If you field 2 Sure Shots, that's 10% bonus attack damage. However, if you field 4, it increases to 20%. This is probably the simplest trait, and the other ones get a little more wordy, but I assure you, after watching a few videos and playing the game, you'll know which champions belong to which traits and what they do in no time. If we take a look at Lux, for example, we can see that her origin is Star Guardian and her class is Spellslinger. We can see that Star Guardians gain increased mana from all sources, the bonus being active at 3, 5, 7, and 9 Star Guardian. The deeper you go into this synergy, the stronger it becomes. Her other trait is Spellslinger. Every 5 seconds, the next attack instead fires a magic orb at a random target, which explodes for 50% ability power as magic damage. The trait also gives increased ability power based on how many Spellslingers that you have. Now that we know how traits work, let's start preparing for the PvP rounds. In order to do that, we will need to create a team of champions. Since TFT is referred to as an auto battler or auto chess, you can think of the champions like a chess piece. Along with the traits that we mentioned before, champions also have their own unique spell. Champions cast their spell when they reach full mana. This amount of mana needed to cast is different for each champion, but every champion gains mana on every basic attack and when they take damage. I'll go over more in depth how mana works later in a tips and tricks video, so be sure to be on the lookout for that in the next couple of days. To get champions, you'll need to buy champions from the shop, which will show you 5 champions at a time. Champions will cost anywhere from 1 to 5 gold. Much like in real life, the higher the cost, the rarer and usually more powerful the champion is. Typically, we play the low-cost champions in the early game and then switch over to the more expensive ones as the game progresses. Now, if you don't like what you see in your shop, there is an option to refresh the shop. This is also called rolling, kind of like rolling a dice, and this would cost you 2 gold. It's essentially getting a new draw if you're playing a card game. This will give you a new set of 5 champions. Now, you might be wondering how to get specific champions. Teamfight Tactics has a shared pool of champions, which means that there is a finite amount of each champion in the game. As you level up in the game, you'll increase the chance to see more powerful champions in your shop. You can check out the exact number of champions and the chance to hit them for each level by checking out this cheat sheet. Oftentimes you'll want to find multiple copies of the same champion to upgrade them. You'll upgrade champions once you get 3 copies of them, which combines the 3 copies and gives them much higher stats and damage. Think of it as getting a bunch of copies in Go Fish. An upgraded champion is usually called a 2-star champion. However, if you're really lucky, you can even get a 3-star champion by upgrading them once more by getting 9 total copies. This gives a huge increase in stats and damage, and some 3-star champions may even win some games on their own. Knowing about traits and champions are great, but how do we get gold to buy each champion? Well, if you hover over your gold above your shop, you'll be able to see how much gold you can earn each round. Here we can see passive income, interest, win streak bonus, and the amount of gold you get for winning the round. Passive income is income you'll always get. It's kind of like your salary. It starts low in the first stage of the game, but then it defaults to 5 gold per round once PvP begins. Next is interest. Again, similar to real life, the more money you have, the more money you can get. You can save gold each round and earn an extra bonus interest for every 10 gold that you have, up to a cap of 5 bonus gold per round. So if you have 50 gold, you'll get 5 gold of bonus interest each round. The interest mechanic should have you thinking about whether you want to spend your gold to get stronger right now, or if you want to save your gold to create a stronger team later in the game. After that, we have streak gold. You gain bonus gold whether you are on a win streak or a lose streak, and you can hover over the streak icon next to your gold to see how much gold you get for your current streak. There is one last way to get gold, and that is by selling champions. So if you no longer like a certain champion on your team, you could sell them by dragging them into your shop or by pressing the hotkey E when hovered over a champion. Remember how we said before that you typically use low-cost champions early on and then swap over to more expensive ones? Well, when it's time to do so, you can sell those old champions. Unupgraded champions sell for their cost, and upgraded champions sell for their combined cost -1, with the exception of tier 1 units. For example, an upgraded Wukong, which is a tier 1 champion, costs 3 gold if you have a 2-star Wukong, and this would sell for 3 gold. An upgraded LeBlanc, which is a tier 3 champion, costs 9 gold to make but only sells for 8. Now that we know how to get gold, let's see what we can spend it on. We already covered that you can refresh your shop and buy champions with your gold, but you can also use gold to buy experience. Experience can get you higher levels, which increases your team size and gives you access to rarer and more powerful units. You will need to balance managing your economy to level up and buy champions, along with making sure your team is strong at all points in the game in order to not lose too much health and eventually die out. I will be coming out with a leveling guide later this week, so subscribe if you want to see the updated version for set 8. But here is a quick, short version that you guys can kind of copy. Typically, I like lining up levels with stages, and if you have no idea what you're doing, just follow this quick guide. So you start the game at level 1, but you automatically gain 2 experience every single round. So once the PvP round starts at stage 2-1, you'll already be level 3. But at that point, I want you to level up to level 4. And then after that, for level 5, I want you to hit that after the first carousel during stage 2-5. For level 6, you typically want to hit that at stage 3-2. That's the augment round during stage 3. And then for level 7, I want you to reach that at stage 4-1, and that's the first round of stage 4. Level 8 on stage 5-1, and then level 9 on stage 6-2. Again, we'll be doing a more in-depth leveling guide for all the different nuances on when to break this rule, but that should get you started for now. Now that we know what the champions do and how to buy them and how to level, let's look into how to position and use them. So I have the easiest method of deciding where to place your units if you're just starting out. If you right-click on a champion, you'll be able to see their attack range. If they have a short range, such as 1 or 2, put them in the front row. If they have long range, such as 3 or 4, put them in the back row. If you're too lazy to even right-click your champions, you can also position them based on how each character looks. Does your character look like a glob with a lot of health bars like Zac? Well, maybe put them in the front because they're likely a tanky unit. Maybe your character is holding a ranged weapon like a bow. Maybe we should put Ashe in the back line. This rule of thumb should get you started, and I even use this guideline to this very day. All jokes aside, positioning is one of the highest forms of skill expression in teamfight tactics, and you'll definitely need to learn each and every nuance as you play more and more by learning how each champion interacts with both your team and your opponents. If you're feeling extra ambitious right now, feel free to check out my team composition tier list that I update every single Friday on my website at bunnymuffins.lol/meta for the best positioning for every composition. Just a side note, if you're looking for short-term improvements as you're starting off in the game, I actually recommend only playing one team composition at a time when you're learning. Even though this playstyle is not optimal, it will definitely help familiarize yourself with all the units within a synergy, and you'll learn the other basics of progressing through the game. Think of it like playing with training wheels. The last topic I want to cover is items. In TFT, we get item components from the carousel and neutral rounds. Each item combines with another to create a stronger item, which combines their stats and gives a bonus effect. To do this, drag the first item onto the desired champion and then drag the second item on top of the same champion again. You can also right-click each item component to highlight which items they can build with other components. Figuring out which items are best on which champions and which combinations synergize together can be a little tricky. However, again, every Friday I list out in every single team composition what their optimal items are and which units should hold them, along with their positioning. As a general rule of thumb, I form my team compositions based on which items I get rather than what champions I get, because items are extremely powerful in TFT. If you made it this far, congratulations, you're now ready to start playing TFT. As the set progresses, I will be releasing guides on how to play at every rank from Iron to Challenger, and then give an intermediate and advanced continuation of this guide, including a dedicated leveling guide, an early, mid, and late game guide, along with general champion and composition guides, so definitely make sure you are subscribed to get notified for those videos. I hope you are excited to play this game. You can play it on your phone or computer, and there are a bunch of different game modes you could try as well, such as Double Up if you have a friend, or Hyper Roll if you want a faster game. Of course, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below and I'll get to as many as I can. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe, and of course smash that like button. Each like is an LP I gain before the next video.